guys, and welcome back to my channel. Today I am here with the finale for my Pan Those Eyeshadows 2021. I'm excited to share with you the progress on the last eyeshadows I was working on this year, as well as share briefly a little bit about our plans for 2022. But before I jump into any of that, if you're new here, please consider subscribing. I would love to have you in the family. But let's just jump into the video. So I'm just going to start with all of the eyeshadows that I was working on in the last month in this project, and of course I'm going to start with things that I have had in for the longest in this project. And the first eyeshadow comes from my focus palette, which in the past month was the Naked palette by Renegade. If you've been following this project along, you know that I was working on the Naked 1 and Naked 3 palettes as my focus palettes. But I have also decided to declutter these at the end of the year, and I actually have already sent the Naked 3 off to a friend who wanted it, and if I remember correctly, I don't think you can get that palette anymore, or that's how I understood it. But yeah, she really wanted the palette, and I sold it to her for really cheap, because I mean it was it was really old, so basically it's also just pay for the shipment. But anyway, the Naked 3 palette has left my collection, so I only have the Naked 1 palette left. But this will also be decluttered after filming this video, because I just needed it to update on. But after that I will let this one go as well. But after all that rambling, we were working on the shade Gunmetal, which is the one up here. And as of the last update, which is up here, I had used this 6 times, and in the past month I reached for this an additional 2 times, and this is where I am today. So no pan, as you can see. I feel like this is a shade that I kind of gave up on, because I knew I was going to declutter this palette anyway. I do like the shade, but it's not my absolute favorite, and I was just a bit burnt out on these tones because I was working on a lot of cool tone shadows like this for the past couple of months. So it was just something that I wasn't really reaching for that much. So yeah, 2 uses on this, which is still decent. I got 8 uses out of that shade in the total. And as you can see, this palette looks really loved now, which is something that I wanted for this palette, because it was my absolute oldest. But it is time to let this one go, because it is 10 years coming up this June. So this is now going to be decluttered and leaving my collection, but yeah, I'm happy that I gave it some love this past year. The only other eyeshadow that's been in now for 2 months is the shade In a Wink from the Through My Eyes palette. This is what it looked like as a last update, and I had used this twice, so not that much, but I have used this for an additional 5 times in the past month for a total of 7, and you can definitely see a bit of usage on here. But I kind of knew that I wouldn't be able to pan on this unless I used it every single day, which was something that I wasn't really prepared to do, because December is usually my month of reaching for a bit more of what I want to reach for before starting all my new projects in January. But I'm happy with 5 uses on this, and I'm happy to now have a bit of wear on this, and I'm going to put it back in the palette and have further wear on that palette, which is really exciting. So that is where I am with the shade In a Wink from the Through My Eyes palette. So the remaining 3 eyeshadows have only been in since the last update, because I rolled in 3 new shades at that point. So I don't have too much use on these. They are, like I said, rolled in from last month. But I do still have some exciting progress to show you. So the first eyeshadow is this one right here, which is a Sydney Grace eyeshadow in the shade Truth and Beauty, which is one of their pressed pigment eyeshadows. And in the past month I used it 6 times, and that is what it looked like when I introduced it. And with those 6 uses, this is what the eyeshadow looks like now. So you can see a little bit of a dip in this eyeshadow, but these are really deep, and they're quite pigmented and not that hard. I mean, they are harder pressed compared to other shimmer eyeshadows, but they're not super hardly pressed. You still pick up a lot of pigment, especially with this shade. I feel like this is slightly looser packed than some of the other shimmer shades that I've tried from Sydney Grace, but it is really pigmented. Honestly, this is such a pigmented shade, so you need very much, and I think that's why I didn't get further with 6 uses. But I mean, it's still a decent dip, I guess, after 6 uses. But as you can see, like I said, it is quite a deep eyeshadow, so I think this would have taken me probably at least 20 uses to pan on. But yeah, I'm happy with the use I got in this in the past month, and I didn't really expect to pan on it. So I'm just overall happy that I managed to reach for this a couple times. And I just realized now that I haven't swatched anything, so I will swatch out the 3 eyeshadows that I've spoken about, so you can see what my color story looked like. So here we have the 3 shades that I've spoken about already. We have Gunmetal from Naked palette Urban Decay. We have In a Wink from the Colourpop From My Eyes palette, and then lastly Sydney Grace Truth and Beauty. So those are the 3 shades that I've been working on so far, and let me just show you the remaining 2. The next eyeshadow is another single, and this is one from Colourpop, and it's actually one of their pressed glitters in the shade Renegade. This one again obviously was rolled in at last month, so this is what it looked like then. I think I might have reached for this once or twice, but not that many times. But in the past month I reached for this 5 times, and this is where I am now. So hopefully you can see that I was able to hit pan on this eyeshadow, and I think the only reason why I hit pan on it so quickly is because it is pressed glitter, because again the pans are quite deep, but with the pressed glitters from Colourpop or any pressed glitters, they're really malleable and you pick up quite a lot of product, because the I mean there's almost like flakes in there. With eyeshadow the pigments are so small that you don't pick up that much each time, if that makes sense. But whereas with a pressed glitter, since the particles are larger, you pick up more and you are able to pan on it quicker. I was planning to use this as my nail polish one time, just because I really wanted to pan on this eyeshadow, because I knew that I was probably gonna be able to do that in a month. But I didn't need to do that. I just used it 5 times on my eyes, and I really enjoyed this when I did use it. And again, I'm just happy to have another pan, because I wasn't sure how many pans I would be able to hit this month in this project, because I rolled in 3 basically brand new shades at the last update. So that is where this eyeshadow is, and again I'm happy to now have pan on it. And there you have the swatch of Renegade. The very last eyeshadow that I had in this project for the past month is a shade from my Prism palette by Anastasia, and that is the shade Dimension, which is this beautiful kind of grey, almost like gunmetal shade again, but it has like a little bit of purple to it. And this is what it looked like at the introduction of this project, or when I introduced this eyeshadow rather. And I have used it 8 times in the past month, and this is where I am today. So you can see there that I do have pan on this eyeshadow as well. It didn't take too long. This eyeshadow is not that pigmented. It might be because this palette is a little bit older, but it also might just be the formula, because it's not the most modern kind of formula. The eyeshadow is a bit more kind of, it's hard to explain. It's not like it's loosely pressed, but it's just like, it's not flaky either, it's just a bit thicker, so you pick up more when you pick it up, and you do also need more to build it up. So that is why I hit pan on this so fast. But again, I am happy to have pan in that shadow. And also this palette is now looking very love, which I really adore, because I only had this in my collection for about a year and it did not have any pans in it when I first received it. So that is what the palette looks like now, and that is Dimension. And there you have the swatch of Dimension, and you can also see my whole color story right there. So those were actually all of the items that I had in my project in the past month, and that also means that I'm gonna wrap up this finale. I don't really have any looks to share this month, because I was in Sweden for Christmas and New Year's, and before then it was just hectic and I didn't really take many photos, so I don't really have any looks to share in this video, but I hope that's okay. I do want to let you know that next year I do still, I honestly, it's when I'm filming this, what is it? I'm filming this on the 5th of January, and I still haven't really decided whether I'm gonna do Pan Those Eyeshadows next year or not, and if I do, what kind of, like how I want to do it. I'm leaning towards doing it, but can I give myself more lenience, because I just want to get more use out of my collection as a whole, rather than just hit so many pans. Because this year, as you know, my goal was to hit 100 eyeshadow pans in my collection, and I just really wanted to, yeah, just focus on hitting pan. But I feel like in 2022 my goal would be to use my collection overall and make it look more kind of used but not pan, if that makes sense. So we'll see what I do, but I do have another project starting, which is going to be another eyeshadow project, which is going to be called Project Level Up. I'll release the introduction to that in a couple of days. It might even be tomorrow or in like 2 days. I can't remember when I scheduled it for, but it's going to be in the next couple of days. And that's going to be my main like eyeshadow panning project. It's going to be panning eyeshadows, like hitting pan on them, but also getting use out of palettes and my collection as a whole. So I really hope you check out that project when I post it. And if I do decide to do a Pan Those Eyeshadows this year as well, I will also have my introduction up in the next week or so. And also, if you are wondering about my pan percentage and all of that, I will cover all of that in my Project 100 pans finale, which is where I discussed if I hit my goal of hitting 100 pans this year or not. And I will also go through the pans that I've hit in the last quarter. And you can check out the previous updates as well if you want to see all of the pans that I hit in this project and overall in my collection in the past year. But that is it for today. I really hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please go ahead and give it a thumbs up, and I will catch you in my next one. Bye guys.